And we are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Black Friday, November the 24th. Hopefully this is coming through loud and clear on your end and that you can hear me and see me. And we had a few little issues there. I was trying to get this set up through an external webcam, which is what I've been using for the past few live video chats. But for some reason, it just would not work for me today. And I do apologize. I started early, freaking around with the camera settings, and would not work. So back to the old just default webcam that's on my laptop here, which I know is not the best quality, but hey, it's working and it's reliable. And that's the most important thing. So we're here having a video chat, and let's see. Andy's saying it is coming through loud and clear. Lee is saying it's coming through loud and clear. Awesome. Hey, JP is joining us as well. Awesome. Appreciate that, guys. I always want to just make sure that this is coming through loud and clear because that is the whole point, right? We want to have a video chat, and there's no point in me having a video chat if it's not coming through loud and clear on your end. So first off, if you're brand new to these video chats, I want to welcome you and just explain what it is that we're going to be doing now over the next hour. Basically, I'm going to be hanging out here answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, any specific challenges that you may be dealing with when it comes to your workouts, with your nutrition plan, with building muscle, losing fat, anything along those topics of discussion that you would like to discuss. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window there. Now, we are streaming from YouTube as well as Facebook. So wherever you happen to be watching from, I know most people usually join in from YouTube, but we do have some people tuning in from Facebook as well. So on YouTube, it's going to be a live stream chat window to the side of this. On Facebook, it's probably going to be a comment section below the video. But either way, you can type in your questions and comments there, and it will come through on my end. All right, let's see. We have Bruce joining in as well. Welcome, Bruce. Glad to have you joining in. And as you tune in, let me know where you're tuning in from. You know, introduce yourself. It's always nice to kind of get an idea because I know we have an international audience joining in for these live Q&As. So right now I'm in Newfoundland, Canada, and it is 6:41 p.m. in my neck of the woods. But it'd be interesting to see, where are you tuning in from? All right, where are you tuning in from, and what time is it in your local area? All right, let's see. We have Jeff is joining in. Awesome. Glad to have you joining in, Jeff. All right. Jeff, are you attending a gig or something? Are you on the road right now? Right. Jeff sometimes joins me for these live chats. So just curious, where are you at? I know he probably is playing a gig somewhere here now. Let's see. We've got Bruce is joining in, saying it's 3:11 p.m. over in Alberta. I know that because Bruce is one of the members of our Muscle After 40 coaching program. Who else we got there? Ryan, another member of our Muscle After 40 programs over in BC at 2:11 p.m. Happened to be on the computer when I saw the notification. Well, good luck. Awesome. It works out in your favor. Dylan is joining in, 5:11. Where is that to, Dylan? 5:11. That's obviously Eastern time. And Jeff is on the way to the gig, so he's going to be listening in the car. So if Jeff was home right now, he would actually join in and participate in our video chat, but he's on his way to a gig, going to be banging on the drum somewhere, so he is going to be listening in via the audio stream in his car on the way to his gig. So appreciate it. That's how Jeff started with this whole thing. He started listening to these video chats, then came on board with the Muscle After 40 coaching program and achieved an incredible transformation. And now he is working with me as my head coach over at the Muscle After 40 Blueprint. So for those of you who are part of the program, in addition to getting coaching from me, Jeff helps out behind the scenes with a lot of stuff there as well. So he's part of the whole team over at the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. And we should also mention that today is the last day for our scholarship program for that Muscle After 40 Blueprint. I actually mentioned about this last week, and we've had several guys take advantage of that scholarship and come on board. And I'm still in conversation with some potential scholarship ease. I don't know what the proper word for that is, but potential candidates for our scholarship program, because we still have a couple spots left, and I'm deciding now who is going to be those last few lucky guys to take advantage of the scholarship promotion that we have. And basically the way it works is we have $10,000 in scholarships that's up for grabs, and several people have come on board, and that's what I've been doing now all week, like onboarding new people into our program, helping them with their training, nutrition programs. So if you are interested in coming on board with the Muscle After 40 Blueprint VIP coaching program, you can head on over to my website at leehayward.com, and the very first blog post there explains how that whole process works, what it is that we're doing, how the scholarship program works, and how you can actually register to join in on our scholarship. Take advantage of that. All right, who else we have joining in here? Let's see. Okay, we have Jason is joining. Jason's a regular over on our Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group at 2313 in Albania. All right. And not many people, well, in North America anyway, use the 24-hour clock. So kudos to you for that. So 2313, that is 11:13 p.m. So it's getting quite late over there in Albania, but much respect for you joining in. Andy's kitchen garden. Andy's going to weigh myself tomorrow. I guess you probably overindulged a little bit on Thanksgiving. Those of you who are from the United States and indulged on Thanksgiving, which is to be expected. That's part of one of the holidays. Yeah, a little fluctuation ain't going to hurt anybody, as long as you get back on track as soon as possible. And we have Eddie joining in from over in Ireland. Guess it's getting pretty late over there as well, but glad to have you joining in. And we have Dylan from the Bahamas. Wow. Again, we got an international audience from all across Canada, the United States, and we have people from Europe as well as down in the Bahamas. Welcome, guys. All right, I'm going to jump in. I think we do have a couple questions coming through. And again, for those of you who are just popping onto the live stream right now, the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to health and fitness and nutrition and exercise. So any specific challenges when it comes to your workouts, building muscle, losing fat, and getting in your best shape, feel free to type in those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat. All right, so Andy's got one here. He says, what's the recommended maximum weight loss per week? I've got myself a RENPHO scales. I guess this must be a brand of scales. I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to refer to Dr. Google after the video chat to see what that is. RENPHO scales told me I lost 2 kilograms in a week, going to EEUGT MT. All right, I don't know what that is. I'm going to something again tomorrow morning. Off to bed soon. From Kent over in the UK. Okay, well, I'm just going to answer your question there. I don't know what you mean by the EEUGT, unless that was just a typo. Maybe if you're on your phone and blah, 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 something, your thumbs just spurt out something. But anyway, what's the recommended maximum weight loss per week? Well, we need to address the bigger picture of weight loss, because anytime you quickly lose weight or gain weight, it's not body fat, it's not muscle, it's usually fluid and food, intestinal bloat. That is the big weight change. And a lot of people think their weight is stable. Like they step on the scale and let's just say you're 200 pounds. And they think, well, I weigh 200 pounds. Well, you weigh 200 pounds at that exact moment that you stepped on the scale. But if you go and use the bathroom, whether it's a number 1 or a number 2 or both, guess what? You just lost some weight because you lost a bit of water weight or excrement weight. If you went and had a meal, you just gained weight, whatever the weight of the food and drink that you just consumed at that meal. Prime example, like if for those of you who had Thanksgiving yesterday, if you weighed yourself before Thanksgiving and then you had a hearty meal and weighed yourself right after Thanksgiving Day dinner, guess what? You gained weight. You probably put on 2-3+ pounds, depending on how much food and fluid that you consumed over the course of that meal. So your weight is always going up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. And whenever you see fast fluctuations, it's food and fluid. And in addition to that, it's also how the food and fluid gets absorbed into your system. Because when you consume carbohydrates and they get stored as glycogen, that glycogen gets pulled into the muscle cells. And along with every gram of stored glycogen, it pulls in 3 to 4 grams of water weight as well. So this is going to have this cell volumization effect. So this is known as when people go on like a high carb diet, or they carb up before a competition. You often hear athletes talking about carbing up to stock up their energy reserves. They literally gain weight in the form of glycogen and water because they volumize their cells. So that is why people will fill out, and vice versa. When you go on a low carb diet, that's why you will flatten out and you will lose weight quickly. So a lot of times when people go on like a low carb ketogenic type of diet where they drastically cut their carbohydrates, deplete their glycogen reserves, in addition to depleting the glycogen, they're also depleting the water that's being pulled into the cells along with that glycogen, and they'll see a big drop on the scale. So if someone goes on a low calorie or low carbohydrate diet, you could lose upwards of 10 pounds in the first week. Again, mostly from food and fluid. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be that, but it could be. I've seen that's not uncommon for people to lose as much as 10 pounds in the first week just from changes in food and fluid. And of course, that's going to depend on how big the individual is, how much weight you have to lose. Obviously, someone who's bigger can lose more than someone who's smaller, because percentage-wise, it's a smaller drop to lose upwards of 10 pounds than it is for someone who's smaller. But once you get beyond that initial shift, and now you start to stabilize and you're actually looking to lose pure body fat, it's going to happen slower. And the good general rule of thumb that I recommend for most of my coaching students, strive to lose 1 pound per week once you're into a rhythm. And this is going to vary depending on how big the individual is, how much weight they have to lose. Like if someone's 300 pounds and obese, they could probably drop weight faster. If someone is close to their ideal body weight, maybe they're in that 15-20% body fat range, and they just really want to fine tune and lose that last layer of pesky body fat so that they're lean and defined, the weight is going to come off much slower, and they'll probably be lucky to lose 1 pound per week at that stage. So it's going to vary. So there is really no set number like the ideal, but what is the maximum? Well, in the initial week, you're probably going to lose the maximum because it's food or fluid and just intestinal bloat and glycogen and water weight that you're losing. But once you get into a set routine, anywhere from a couple pounds per week or maybe 1 kilogram per week is going to be really good progress, but it's going to start to slow down the more consistent you are with your nutrition plan, the more consistent you are with your weight loss program, the slower the process is going to happen. So it starts off fast, and then it's going to slow down as you start losing body fat. And the leaner you get, the harder it is to make further progress. But with that being said, the leaner you get, the more that progress is going to show on your physique, meaning the better you're going to look. And just want to give you an analogy of this. Like, let's imagine someone starts a fat loss program and they're 50 pounds overweight, meaning they got 50 pounds of excess body fat they want to lose. If they lose 10 pounds of body fat, they're still going to look the same. They're just going to be basically 10 pounds smaller. But on the surface, like when they stand in the mirror, or if they take progress pictures or anything like that, they're still going to look the same because they've got 40 pounds of body fat that's blurring all their definition. Like they're not going to look lean and ripped because they lost 10 pounds. Versus if you take someone who is already quite lean, and let's just say they've got 20 excess pounds to lose, and then they lose 10 pounds, that's going to make a massive difference because they're getting into burning that surface layer of fat, that fat that's starting to blur the muscle definition, that's covering, the outline of their abs and the definition in between the muscles. Like they're not just losing surface layer fat, they're actually getting into burning the fat that's blurring their definition. So if an overweight person loses 10 pounds, you're not even going to notice it. If a relatively lean person loses 10 pounds, it can make a massive difference in their level of definition. And that's why when you look at fitness models and bodybuilders and people like that, when they lose a little bit of body fat, it can make a huge difference. And very often when you see competitors, like in the last month before a competition, every single week, they can start looking sharper and more defined, because even though the numbers aren't dropping rapidly, every little bit of fat that they do lose is making a noticeable difference in their level of definition and muscularity. So, you got to look at it from the bigger picture perspective and realize where you're at along that spectrum. But again, hopefully that helps to elaborate on that question for you there, Andy. And again, if you do have any other questions or you want to elaborate on it more, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I got my contact information down below, and be more than happy to have a chat with you through Messenger or through email. All right, let's see who else we've got here. We have Chris joining in. Welcome, Chris. Machine versus free weights. Classic debate, right? It both. Why have one or the other when you can have both? If you go to a gym, chances are there's machines and there's free weights. And there's also probably a bunch of different body weight exercises and other tools that you have available. Take advantage of them all. It's not that one is right, wrong, good or bad, better or worse. It's a different tool in the toolbox. That's saying, like, what should I use? Should I use machines or free weights? That's like saying, hey, what should I use when I'm on a construction site, the hammer or the saw? It depends. Do you want to nail a nail or do you want to cut a piece of board? Right? Trying to cut a piece of board with a hammer is not very effective. Trying to, put a nail into a piece of board with a saw is not very effective. Having the right tool for the job is effective. So free weights versus machines, it depends. Like when it comes to free weights, they're great because they offer that real three-dimensional resistance, meaning that you've got to balance and support and stabilize the weight. So you get a lot more muscle activation, but you're limited with the exercises because free weights only work up and down against gravity, whereas machines have different planes of motion. Like you could do a lat pull down where you're literally pulling down the weight. That's not possible with free weights. Free weights, you can only lift it up, right? There's no resistance coming back down. But with machines, you can have resistance in different planes of motion. So a pull down, you can have a horizontal range of motion in like a leg press, or different arc motions like a leg extension or a leg curl, pec deck fly. Like there's so many different machines that you can do exercises with to stimulate the muscles that you can't effectively do with free weights. So you want to incorporate both. I mean, I'll be honest, most of my workouts these days are machine based, but I will incorporate free weight variations for certain exercises. So that's my answer for it. It's not one is good or bad, right or wrong. It's like you want to take advantage of all the different tools that you have available. Let's see what we got here. This one, just a second, guys. I didn't mean to click on that one. Where are we to there? TS is joining in saying plans today are a hybrid 3x5 with extra high rep stuff. If your goal is to solely get out of the skinny zone, you should focus on a bodybuilding plan. Well, thank you for your support, TS. And you know what? I agree with you there. If you have a goal to get out of the skinny zone, meaning you actually want to make some progress, you need to have a structured plan. Simply winging it, well, winging it is better than nothing. Like something's better than nothing. Having a structured plan to follow is the best approach of all. And ideally a structured plan that is designed by someone who knows what the heck they're doing versus just trying to wing it. And this is one thing that creates a lot of confusion in the fitness industry. And one thing that really irks me as a fitness coach is when I see people following different fitness gurus. And it's not that the information is right, wrong, good, or bad. It's like, who is that information for? Because like I could be following, let's say I go over to bodybuilding.com and I'm looking for a bodybuilding program. And TS actually mentioned a bodybuilding plan. If we're looking at a true bodybuilding plan, as in a competition plan, well, that might be great for someone who's actually planning on competing in a bodybuilding competition. But what if you're a 50-year-old office worker who hasn't lifted weights in the last 20 years and you just want to lose your gut and get in shape and lower your cholesterol and reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes? then going on a bodybuilding training and cutting plan for competition might not be the best option. You might need something more tailored to you at your specific situation. Right. Another example is, let's say we have someone who's trying to peak for a powerlifting meet and maximize their strength and their 1 rep max power in the squat, bench, and deadlift, versus someone who's trying to compete in a Spartan race. 2 totally different goals, 2 totally different types of training needs to be involved. And it's not that one is right, wrong, good, or bad. It's like, what are we trying to train for? What is our focus? So having a structured plan geared towards you and your particular goals and your specific situation is key, versus just randomly hopping on the plan because Joe Blow on Instagram said, hey, this is the best workout program, everybody should do it. It may be the best program for someone, but it doesn't always mean it's the best program for you. So that's where having a coach who is familiar with you and your situation can really help to guide you in that. But again, thanks for sharing that, because it is absolutely true. You should definitely have a plan, but a plan that's structured towards you. All right, let's see who else we got joining in here now. We'll see. Andy saying, sorry, I'm shattered. I malfunctioned on the phone. Yeah, Andy's thumbs were stuttering on his phone there. If you want to elaborate on your question, Andy, feel free to do so. Right, I'm still here. I mean, I did try to answer your question about weight, but I know there was a bit of typing diarrhea came out on the question side. Lee's joining in saying, do you have any experience with do you have any experience with CBD cream for muscle soreness? It seems to be everywhere at the moment, but I've never used it. I have never used any CBD products myself, so I'm not the person to help in this situation. That is something I've never delved into, so I can't really answer. I don't know if anybody else has. Want to share in the chat, in the comments there, if anybody else has any experience with that, but that is something that is outside my realm. Let's see. We have Sal joining in. And says, hey, I think it's Haley, or maybe he's like Haley, but it came out as Haley. It's 5:19 in North Carolina, and it's chilly, and I'm out walking the dogs listening to you. Good for you, right? Getting outside, getting some exercise, and also educating the mind and attending the video chat. Much appreciated. In North Carolina, it's chilly. I wonder how chilly is chilly, because that's all relative. Because I know here in Canada, what we consider chilly is a lot different than what people in the South consider chilly. But again, it'd be interesting to know for sure. But kudos to you for getting out for a walk and for tuning into the video chat. Win-win. Let's see what else we've got there. Andy says, I've been weight training and walking since August, working out and walking 2 miles 6 days a week. That's really good progress. I mean, that's a really good structure. I mean, like, you're doing the weight training and you're doing the walking. So you're getting the strength and conditioning through the weight training, and walking is that low intensity, steady state cardio. And 2 miles a day, 6 days a week, I'm assuming that probably takes you 40 minutes-ish, that range. And again, that depends on how fast you're walking or how hilly the terrain is and everything else. But that's a solid plan for sure, you know. And depending on what it is that you're training for, you might want to look into potentially bumping up the cardio side of things, especially if your main goal is fat loss and improving your overall health and cardiovascular conditioning. Walking for 2 miles a day, I mean, that's really good, but it could be better. You know, like, that's a great start, but if you want to kind of elaborate on that, you certainly could. And I'm going to share something with you. This is actually a book that I'm reading right now. It's called Outlive by Peter Attia. If he's got a YouTube channel, a podcast, it's got a lot of content online. But I really resonate a lot with Peter's material. In this book, it's a meaty one, as you can tell. It's just shy 500 pages. And it is an amazing book. And the thing I like about it is it really focuses on not just training from an aesthetic point of view or a performance point of view, but training for overall health, wellness, and longevity. Hence the name of the book, Outlive, right? The Science and Art of Longevity. And for those of you who are over 40 or over 50 or over 60 or over 70 or wherever you happen to be on the spectrum, or for those of you who want to live to be in those ages, this book is highly recommended. All right, so I've been going through it. And one of the things that I really like is how he breaks up exercise and the three main areas that you want to focus on. Well, there's more than that, but I'm just going to, there's three big areas that I just want to highlight here. The strength and conditioning, so to build muscular strength, and that has a huge impact in your overall health and longevity, because one of the biggest reasons why people get weak and sick and frail and lose muscle as they age and all that is because they're not using it. You know, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, I mean, we need to maintain our muscle and strength, especially as we get older. So building that strength and conditioning is huge. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people literally have health problems and go downhill as they get age, because they're so weak and fragile that they can't maintain their mobility and their overall quality of life. So building strength is huge. Another one we want to focus on is the low intensity cardio. And in the endurance world, we refer to this as zone 2, which basically means you're working hard, but not to the point where you're getting gassed. So you can sustain the effort. You can carry on a conversation at a strained conversation. Like, it shouldn't be as easy as I'm talking right now, but you know, you should be able to keep talking a little bit like this. Like, you'll be huffing and puffing, but you should still be able to get a few words out and carry on a decent conversation with somebody, right? Like if you were going for a brisk walk or an easy jog, that's zone 2. So it's a strained conversation, but you could still maintain a conversation, and you should be able to continue that cardiovascular activity for at least an hour without feeling gassed or like you're ready to collapse. Like, it should be challenging but sustainable for a long duration. So brisk walk, easy jog, that type of pace. And then you want to alternate that with VO2 max work, which is your high intensity cardio. And this is something that's going to be like a high intensity effort for 3 to 4 minutes. And you would repeat this in intervals, which is known as, in the bodybuilding world, they refer to this as HIIT cardio, the high intensity interval training. You want to incorporate some of that in there as well. So the three main types of training you want to really do is the strength and conditioning, the long duration, steady state cardio, and then have some high intensity VO2 max cardio in there. And if you cover those, I mean, that's basically the big movers when it comes to your fitness. Now, there's other things, you know, flexibility and mobility and all that kind of stuff need to be factored in there as well. But the strength and conditioning, the long duration cardio, and then getting in some high intensity interval work, that is the three pillars that you really want to focus on for maximizing your overall health and fitness. And not only health and fitness, but improving fat loss, improving muscle development, you know, athletic performance, all this kind of stuff. Those are the pillars that really help to improve this. And that's what I really focus on with my own training as well. And it's, again, I would highly recommend, if you're looking for another book recommendation, I would definitely recommend getting a copy of this. I've got it both on Audible as well as the hard copy there. All right, so let's move on. What else we got there? Dylan is from the Bahamas saying, what is your opinion on weighted carries, farmer walks? I'm thinking about implementing those during my rest days, using up to half my body weight as opposed to just walking. All right. First off, there's two questions there. The farmer's walk is an amazing exercise, but it's not a rest day exercise. Like, that is an intense exercise, especially when you start working up to heavy weight, which you should be with farmer's walks. It's like all weight training exercises, it's a progressive overload movement that you want to start off light, but gradually progress to heavier weight. And you could even potentially work up to a good ambitious goal for a lot of guys is to try and even work up to your body weight for a minute long walk. Like, that would be a very ambitious goal. And if you could get up to doing that, so you're carrying half your body weight in each hand, just to throw some real world numbers, if you're 200 pounds, go for a minute long walk with 100-pound dumbbells. That, like, if you worked up to that, that would be very respectable. And that will go a long way to improving your overall strength and athletic performance and just your functional strength overall. And that's ambitious. Like, I'll be honest, I could not do that right now. I would have to train for that, to walk with my body weight for a minute. All right. But that is something, like, you can put that as like a long-term goal that you're going to work up to. But it's not a rest day exercise. Like, farmers walks is not, it's not like going for a walk. Like, going for a walk is that low intensity zone 2 cardio that I just mentioned earlier. Like, that could be done on a rest day from strength training. Like, the way I normally do it is I do the high intensity strength training, the low intensity cardio, and I alternate them day for day. This would be included with your actual strength training workouts. It could be done as a finisher, or it could be done as one of the primary exercises for the workout itself. Ideally, I would recommend including it as a finisher, or at least towards the end of your workout, because the farmer's walk is going to heavily work your grip, right? That's the main muscle that's going to get fatigued. I mean, it's obviously going to work all the stabilizer muscles and throughout your core and your legs and your hips and everything else. But the big fatiguing factor, the limiting factor, if you will, the weak link in the farmer's walk, is going to be your grip strength. And if you fatigue your grip strength at the start, then that's going to probably hinder your workouts for all the other exercises you do, because your grip is what connects you to the barbells and dumbbells and machine handles. So if the grip is pre-exhausted and fatigued, the workout could be compromised. So save your grip stuff for at the end of your workouts. Or if you want, you could even throw it in as an extra workout in and of itself. But again, it's not a rest day easy workout. Like, it's an intense exercise, right? This is something that you either want to dedicate a separate workout to for itself, or have it as a finisher to your regular strength and conditioning workouts that you're doing now. But yeah, it's an awesome exercise. And I actually have a video explaining how to do the farmer's walk. If you want to go check it out, I'll just post the link there in the chat. Lee Hayward farmer's walk. If you go to YouTube, type that in. It's called farmer's walk benefits exercise tutorial. And now I'm going to post that link. So for those of you who are watching the replay, you can do a search for that. If you just search for Lee Hayward farmer's walks on YouTube, it'll come up. But I'm posting it here in our chat. Farmer's walk video. Boom. So when this is done, Dylan, you can go check that one out. All right. And that's another exercise that Peter Attia recommends in his book, Outlive, as well, because it's a good overall functional exercise for anyone. I mean, that is a practical movement. As you get older and you want to develop that type of functional strength, because just think, like, a lot of seniors, as they get older, they can't do simple stuff like the farmer's walk. For example, like carrying groceries home from the store, or carrying groceries up a flight of stairs. Like, that is a max effort, all out task for a lot of senior citizens. But imagine being in such good shape that you could grab your bags of groceries and, jaunt up a couple flights of stairs with no effort, as someone in their 70s or 80s or beyond. Right? I mean, like, that's the type of ambition that you want to have, so that you can maximize your later years and live life to the fullest without having your body holding you back from doing what you want to do. And again, the farmer's walk is a great exercise to certainly include in that type of training program. JP saying both. I think he was referred to free weights versus machines. Yes, absolutely. All right. Chris is saying, I wouldn't mind looking like a Greek god. More effort needed on my behalf. Well, I can certainly appreciate that. And, more effort needed on your behalf. Well, you're the weak link there. What are you willing to do about it? Right? Looking like a Greek god. I mean, you could put that down on your bucket list, right? The Greek god ideal. Now, do you want to have the lean, muscular Greek god, or do you want to have the Herculean Greek god, right? Which is your preferred? See who else we got there. Neil is joining in. Says, good morning, Lee. Which is better, 8 hours of sleep, but waking up in the middle like 2 to 3 times, or 6 hours but straight? I think 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I mean, I don't think we really have a choice here unless you're purposely waking yourself up. But it's whatever works the best for you. I mean, ideally, I would love to be able to just sleep 8 hours straight throughout the night without any distractions whatsoever. I mean, heck, even 6 hours straight without any distractions would be great. But bottom line, you want to maximize your sleep. And very often, as we go through our sleep rhythms, we go through various phases of sleep. So, I mean, you'll go through phases of light sleep into deeper sleep, and then you probably come back out of it a little bit. You may even wake up temporarily. I mean, obviously, if you're a guy over 40, you're waking up to go to the bathroom usually, right? That's just part of life, right? You very rarely can guys over 40 pull an all-nighter anymore. They got to get up and take a leak in the middle of the night, and then that disrupts your sleep. But make the best of it. But ideally, you want to sleep throughout the night. That would be the best scenario. But bottom line, make the best of your situation. I don't think this is something that a lot of us have a choice. It's kind of like making the best of our current circumstances. And there's always going to be something to disrupt your sleep, whether it is your bladder, whether if you're a parent and you have young children, like especially if you have like I know when Harvey was an infant, waking up in the middle of the night to bottle feedings and diaper changes, that was certainly disrupting my sleep. And a 6 hour straight stretch would have been a dream, but it didn't happen. But this is something you really, just bottom line, make the best of it. Instead of trying to debate, hey, what's better? Because I really don't think most of us have a choice. What you do have a choice is in the habits and how you structure your routine to set yourself up for sleep. And I'll give you some strategies on how you can maximize this, because sleep is huge. Sleep is one of the most underrated things that you can do to improve your overall health and fitness. And I again, going back to that book that I mentioned, Peter Attia actually recommends or refers to sleep as a performance enhancing drug. He says, if you get good quality sleep, it's like a performance enhancing drug. And I totally agree with him there. Versus someone who is sleep deprived versus someone who's well rested, it could literally be, that unfair advantage, if you will. Like, that's how powerful it is. But what you can control when it comes to sleep is, one, your schedule. Try and go to bed and get up at the same time every day, including weekends. Now, I know that's not always possible depending on your work schedule. Like, some people are working rotating shifts and all kinds of stuff, which frigs with your sleep schedule. Like, let's be honest. If you're working a graveyard shift, or you do so many shifts where you're working overnights and so many shifts where you're working days, your body doesn't know when it's supposed to be awake or asleep. And I'm sure you're suffering from it. Like, you don't feel well rested if your rhythm is all out of whack. So ideally, if you have control over this, you want to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time every single day, or at least like within an hour window, right? Like in my case, once 9 o'clock hits, I'm starting my pre-bed routine, and I want to be in the sack, right? Lights out, 10 p.m. at the latest. I mean, sometimes it goes a little longer than that, but I strive to be in the bed with the lights out, ready for bed, 10 p.m. And I start my pre-bed routine at 9 p.m. or even earlier, because I want to start getting into the rhythm. And one of the things that I do to start that pre-bed routine, turn off all electronic devices. So turn off the computer, start to dim the lights, try to avoid that external stimulation as early as possible, and go through whatever you need to do to get ready for bed. Like whether you need to get a shower and, brush your teeth and whatever you do before you go to bed, like get all that done, get all that taken care of, so that you're starting the process of unwinding and getting ready for sleep. Also, with your sleep environment, like your bedroom, that should be dark. Like if you black out curtains, if possible, or even a sleep mask, if that's helpful. You want it to be a cool setting. Like it shouldn't be too hot. You should have a nice, comfortable bed. Like all these little things matter. And no external lights or distractions. Like there shouldn't be a television in the bedroom. Now, I know a lot of people, you probably got a TV in the bedroom, but there's no TV in my bedroom, and I would not recommend having it there. And if you do have it in there, at least an hour before you want to go to bed, that TV should be well off. Like that's part of the shut down the electronic devices thing an hour before bed. Like going through all these pre-bed rituals will set you up for a good night's sleep. So you can control that, but you can't control whether you sleep 6 hours straight or you sleep 8 hours and you wake up throughout the night. That's kind of the wild cards. Like that's stuff that you really don't have a lot of control over, but you can control how you set up the quality of sleep to begin with. Another thing that helps as well is consistent wake up times, like trying your best to be consistent with those wake up times and not always sleeping in, because sometimes too much sleep is just as bad as too little because it throws off your rhythm. So we want to have that consistent schedule, and ideally shooting for the 7 to 9 hours or 8-hour average. Like those numbers, they're not just plucked from air. Like that's been scientifically proven to be the most advantageous hours. So some people can get away on the low end, around 7 hours. Some people need a little more, somewhere around 9 hours, but it's in that 7 to 9 hour window for most people. And if you're getting in that window and you're feeling well rested and it's decent quality sleep, you will feel so much better versus if you're getting less than 6 hours or it's choppy, inconsistent sleep or it's disrupted sleep. Again, I could go on and we could do a whole hour-long chat just on sleep alone, but this is huge. And it's certainly something, if you're not prioritizing it, you should definitely be prioritizing it. It could be it's literally like a performance enhancing drug. Like visualize sleep as that powerful, right? It could be like cheating in terms of the gains and the progress you make and how good you feel versus not getting good sleep. All right, who else we got joining in? We have Jason's joining in from the south side of Chicago. Welcome to the chat. Glad to have you tuning in. Andy's saying, can you include creatine in coffee? Apparently it's less effective, but not sure if it's a myth. If you wanted to, you could, but I mean, like, I'm going to just elaborate on that. First off, like, I would not put creatine into a piping hot cup of coffee because the heat of the coffee is going to potentially denurture the creatine and may not make it as effective, right? But the way I would take the creatine is I dry scoop it. And for those of you who don't know what dry scooping is, it's like I literally just take the scoop of powder, and it's only a small scoop. Like we're talking like a 5-gram scoop, and I just dump the powder in my mouth, and then I chase it down with water, swish it around, and swallow. Like that's it. So I just powder, water, swish, swallow. And I find like that is the easiest, most convenient way to take it because I don't enjoy drinking creatine because it's got that gritty texture. So like, for example, if I put creatine into a protein shake, for example, well, then the protein shake tastes gritty. Or if I put creatine in my coffee, even though the coffee could potentially dissolve it because of the heat, it could also denurture it as well. So I wouldn't recommend mixing creatine in a hot liquid. I would recommend something cold or just, as I mentioned, dry scoop it and get it down that way. But as far as the coffee creatine contradiction, the reason you hear that is because coffee has caffeine, and caffeine is a diuretic. Creatine requires more water to be fully absorbed and utilized into the cells. It has this cell volumization effect where it pulls water and nutrients into the cells. So they're two contradictory forces. Right? The diuretic is pulling water out. The creatine is pulling water in. The main thing that you want to focus on is that you're consuming enough water in general to overcompensate for whatever you're going to potentially lose from the coffee. Because coffee is not hydrating. All right, a lot of people think it is. Like, oh, they think, oh, because I'm drinking a cup of coffee, that's like a cup of water. It's not the same because the caffeine is actually going to cause your body to excrete more fluid than you're consuming. And so you want to make sure that you're overcompensating that with just pure water. Have a water bottle on hand at all times. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water throughout the day, and ideally sip it frequently throughout the day so that you're staying adequately hydrated and on top of the hydration curve, not waiting until you're thirsty to drink, which is what most people do. You want to stay on top of it. And a general rule of thumb that you can use to know if you're adequately hydrated or not is the color of your pee. If your pee is clear or light yellow, you're probably pretty good. If your pee is dark yellow, that's not a good sign. That's a sign that you're dehydrated and you need to consume more water. So that's kind of like my check and balance. Now I always take precautions, make sure I got water with me. Like, for example, I got water here on my desk. When I go anywhere, like when I go to the gym, I got water. When I go for a bike ride, I take water bottles. When I go in my car, I got water. Like everywhere I go, I carry water with me, so I can always drink it when I'm on the go and have frequent sips throughout the day. But then my check and balance is when I go to the loo, I want to look at the color of the pee. If it's clear or light yellow, I'm good. If it's on the darker side, I know I need to drink more. So you can use that as your little check and balance to see if you're on the right track. But again, getting back to your specific question about the creatine and coffee, I wouldn't mix it in the coffee, but there's no harm consuming creatine and also drinking coffee as long as you're keeping yourself adequately hydrated so that creatine can do what it needs to do, which is pull the water and the nutrients into the cells and create that cell volumization effect. All right, let's see what else we got. And to go along with this, Andy, I just want to give you some more food for thought. I've put together a full frequently asked questions blog post about creatine. It's something I put together a while ago, but I'm going to share it with you because this will help you and anybody else who has any creatine related questions. And I'm thinking about putting out a new video or a new updated one, but the information that's in this blog post is still very legit. Let's see. It's called Creatine Supplement 101. Creatine Supplement Information 101. So if you just do a search for Lee Hayward creatine supplement information, you will find it. But I'm going to post it here in our chat window. So it's creatine blog post. Boom, there. So you can go refer to that after our video chat. And that's got oodles of frequently asked questions about creatine answered in pretty good detail. Right? It's quite the lengthy post, but it's a good read for sure. And something that everyone who is supplementing with creatine should review. All right, let's see. Ranger says, I lost 13 pounds in an hour for wrestling. Is that healthy? I'm 13. No, it ain't healthy, but it's first off, like, how the heck did you lose 13 pounds? Like, that's in an hour. Unless there's something I want to address here. It could be error with the scale, because depending on the quality of scale you use or where you place your feet on the scale, that can have an impact. Or if the scale is not perfectly level on the floor, like if you have your scale and there's a little bit of rock in the scale, that can affect it as well. And I've seen this at our last provincial bodybuilding championships. They did the weigh-in at a room that the floor was carpet, and they had the scale laid on a carpeted floor. And not to discredit them, but I am discrediting them. The weigh-ins for that competition were a shit show, to say the least, because I know I've seen guys, we were literally at the weigh-in, I was there, and they'd step on the scale and then they just step off it and step back on, and the weight could fluctuate by 5 or 10 pounds because the way their feet were positioned and the fact that it was on carpet, like it's sinking in or it wasn't sinking in, it's so you want to be very consistent with scale weight. Like there's a lot of margins of error depending on the scale itself. And I've even seen this with my own bathroom scale, because depending on where I lay it in the bathroom, the floor is not 100% level. So if it's like, I usually tuck the scale in the corner out of the way, but in the corner, there's like a little divot in the floor. It's not perfectly level. And if I can take the scale and it rocks ever so slightly, so I had to move it out, put it in the center of the floor, and I will literally jimmy it around, make sure that it's level and it's not rocking at all. And if it's perfectly level, then I'll get accurate readings. But if there's any bit of rock in the scale at all, it could vary by a couple pounds. So I could stand on it and I could be 195 pounds, get back off, get on it again, and I could be 200 pounds. Like it could literally vary up to 5 pounds just based on, the inconsistencies, because the floor is not perfectly level. But if it is level, I do get consistent reading. So that's something I want to just acknowledge here, because 13 pounds in an hour is very freaking unlikely. Like, that is extreme dehydration at its max. And I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, who knows? Maybe it is legitimately possible to lose that much in an hour, but that's certainly not healthy, and it's certainly not something sustainable. And hopefully you rehydrated yourself afterwards. But again, I just want to share that it's if I had to be honest and truthful, I'd say you didn't lose 13 pounds in an hour. I say there were some other variables in there that caused the weight numbers to fluctuate. For example, like maybe you position your feet differently on the scale, and it could have had a different reading, or who knows. Now, I'm not saying you didn't lose weight. Like, yeah, you can certainly dehydrate yourself and lose weight, but 13 pounds, that's a lot. Like, that would be a lot for 24 hours, let alone an hour. And it's certainly not healthy. Anytime anyone has to make a weight cut for competition, once you make weight, you rehydrate yourself afterwards, because it's not healthy or sustainable to do that. Anyway, let's move on. Ryan is joining in. Farmers walks are the exercise that I love and hate. It destroys me, and I do 50 pounds for a minute and barely make it. Well, I hear you. It is a hard exercise, right? It's a hard exercise because you feel that discomfort. Like, you start off doing it. Let's say you're shooting for a minute-long walk, doing laps back and forth to the gym or wherever you're doing them. At first, like, oh, there's nothing to this. This is easy. I can do it. And then it just gets exponentially harder and harder. And then, like, as the seconds tick off, it just gets more and more and more. And then for those last few seconds, like, you're fighting that your fingers are peeling open, and it's hard to just hold on to the weights and keep doing it. So it quickly escalates from, just mild discomfort to, yeah, this is a brutal exercise. So I totally hear what you're saying, but it's a very effective one. Right? Certainly one that you should be doing regularly in your workouts. And for most of my coaching students, I have farmers walks programmed into their workouts because it is such a functional and practical exercise. All right, let's see what else we got there. We have okay, there's a follow-up question here from Dylan saying, much appreciated. I believe separate rest day would work best for me because I initially did not want my pull days to interfere with my farmer's walk session as it relates to my gripping capabilities. Yeah, so the option, if you want to just have a separate workout, if you can fit it in, do the farmer's walk on a separate workout. But if you are going to put it into a pull workout, add the farmer's walk in as the finisher at the end. And that way it's not going to affect your other exercises, and you'll still get benefits from doing the farmer's walk at the end of your workout as a finishing exercise. So that's how I do it. Like, when I do farmer's walk, it's always a finishing exercise towards the end of the workout. All right, who else we got there? Platinum Gaming. How to bust out of a bench press plateau. I'm already doing dumbbell bench presses a lot, so I don't know what to do. I've been doing a 4x3 Monday, 4x5 pin presses on Friday, and it worked for about 6 to 8 months. Now I'm stuck. You probably need to do a deload. Like, if you've been training in a progressive overload fashion for 8 months, it's inevitable. You are going to hit a plateau. Like, we just don't literally gain strength nonstop forever. You go through phases. And if you've been making some good gains for the past 6 to 8 months and now it's starting to plateau, that's normal. So the first step is probably to do a deload phase. Like, go through a couple weeks of lower intensity training. Like, you can still work out, but just purposely lift lighter, or purposely have more rest days incorporated there. Choose easier exercise variations. So, for example, in your case, you said you're doing dumbbell benches and you're doing pin presses. So I'm assuming you're doing a lot of heavy free weight work. Maybe do a couple weeks of lighter machine exercises, stopping your sets short of failure, and just say 3 days a week, go in there for an hour, just kind of enjoy being in the gym, but not stressing yourself, not training to failure, not trying to hit PRs or none of that stuff. You're literally just going through the motions. And that is a great way to deload, because you're still reaping the benefits of exercise. You're still keeping yourself active, and you're not going to lose muscle and strength as if you did nothing at all. But at the same time, you're allowing that active recovery to happen. So you're still remaining active, but active in a way that your body can recover. And it just helps to rejuvenate the joints, the tendons, the ligaments, and also your mindset, because going in there all the time with that mindset of progressive overload and always got to hit a PR, always got to push heavier and heavier, it's stressful. It's hard. You start to dread the workouts. Whereas if you go in there with the mindset of, hey, there's no expectations, I'm just going in there to enjoy the workout, it takes a lot of the stress out of it, and you actually do enjoy the workout. So I would recommend probably a deload phase for a couple weeks. And then when you get back into it again, I would actually work in a higher repetition range for a while, because it seems like you've been doing pretty heavy low rep stuff. Just try to build up your conditioning in some higher rep ranges. Sets of 10, sets of 12, or even higher. And that has an impact. Like a lot of times people think, I got to always do the heavy low rep stuff, but getting stronger in the lighter, higher rep work can actually carry over into improving, your efficiency and your strength in that lower rep range. And for those of you who've been around for a while and you follow the Blast Your Bench program, like this is a program I put out back in the late 90s, and it's still available if you want to go check it out. It's over on blastyourbench.com. You can go download the digital version of the program. Part of that program is how we structure the different repetition ranges. So there are some high volume, high repetition workouts in there, along with some pyramid style training where you start off with moderate reps and pyramid up to a heavy set, and then some repetitive, like, doing heavy triples, sets of 3. And we structure different ways. So some workouts we're doing high reps, 15 reps a set, high volume. Other days it's pyramiding. Other days it's multiple sets of low reps. And we structure it in a progressive fashion, but you're getting all the different muscle stimulation. So you're getting that the higher volume, more of those slower twitch muscle fibers, more of that time under tension. You're also getting the high power explosive low rep work, in the multiple sets of 3s. And then you're also getting the full spectrum when we pyramid up, starting at the sets of 10 and then working your way all the way up to a heavy double. So working within the different repetition ranges helps to spur on new growth as well. So I think that could be a missing link in your situation here. If you're always doing those heavy low rep sets, purposely, once you've deloaded for a couple weeks, take a few weeks or even a month and focus on building up your strength in those higher repetition ranges. And other exercises that are really good for this as well, like high repetition push-ups, high repetition dips. Like those are some great exercises that are assistant moves to help with the bench press. And if you get better at those, chances are your bench press is going to improve as well. Like I know myself, when I've gotten really good at banging out high repetition push-ups, my bench went up as well. Or if I get really good at doing high rep dips, my bench goes up as well. So like work on the high repetition range, and you'll see that very often can carry over into improving your max effort strength as well. So give those strategies a try and follow up and let me know how they work for you. All right, who else we got there? We have Betty joining in, Polska. All right. Not sure what that means, but we'll move on. If you have a question, feel free to type it in. RC joining in, says, I have a rack with a pull-up bar and a lat pull-down machine. Can do all exercises except rear delt, shoulder, chest fly. Would you recommend the pec deck, reverse pec deck, as I don't use dumbbells? If you have or want to get a pec deck / reverse pec deck machine, by all means you can. Another alternative is resistance bands. Resistance bands will be a lower cost, quick alternative, but it's not as effective as a proper pec deck machine. Right. The problem with resistance bands is the strength curve is not linear. The resistance gets harder as you stretch the band. It gets easier as the band contracts. Whereas if you're using a machine exercise, there's more consistent tension throughout the entire range of motion. So if you can get yourself a pec deck, that would certainly be a worthwhile investment. I mean, I love the the pec deck machine. I use it on a regular basis, and I like to superset pec deck with the reverse pec deck. So I'm hitting the, the chest and the front delts, and I'm also hitting the rear delts and the upper back, and I superset them back and forth. And great way to work agonist and antagonist movement patterns that way. Keeps the shoulders in balance and proportion, and it's just a great exercise, or exercises, because it's two. But if you need a quick fix solution in the meantime, resistance bands can certainly help. Yeah. All right, what else we got there? Lee is saying, it took me 8 months to get rid of tennis elbow. Is there any exercises I can do to strengthen the area to stop it from recurring? It's that's a unique one. Like I'm ironically getting over some elbow tendonitis myself. And the big thing when you get elbow tendonitis is you want to avoid aggravating it and be a bit more selective with your movement patterns. So in my situation, I find I have to be careful with certain curls and rowing variations, because I was having tendonitis on the inside of the elbow, which is referred to as golfer's elbow. Tennis elbow is usually the pain on the outside, and different exercises, different movement patterns can aggravate, the different types of tendonitis. But in my situation, I found it was really painful doing bicep curls with a straight barbell. So I had to use the easy curl bar or dumbbells. For a while, I was even just doing hammer curls with thumbs up grip, because anytime I twisted or supinated the hands, that's what aggravated the tendonitis. But I'm to the stage now where I can do regular dumbbell curls with a supination or easy bar curls, and it doesn't cause pain unless I go super heavy. So of paying attention to what exercises cause discomfort and don't, and trying to just select the movements that allow you to train without causing pain and discomfort is a big one. Another thing that can really help as well is focusing on grip strength. The stronger your grip, the less likely you are to get elbow tendonitis, because basically when you strengthen your grip, you're strengthening all the muscles and tendons throughout the whole forearms. Because yes, your grip, your hands is what's activating, the gripper or doing the grip work. But when you look, it's all the muscles in the forearms are the ones that actually get worked. So by doing grip training, you're indirectly strengthening all those muscles, tendons, and ligaments in the forearms. And I found myself, when I did a lot of grip training and I was really specializing in it for a while, I didn't have any elbow tendonitis, which was great. Okay. And I really prioritized grip work. And so I found, like, when you get into that, that can be like a preventative measure. Not only is it good for strengthening your grip and assisting with all your other exercises, but it's a good preventative measure for elbow tendonitis issues as well. So that's one thing that I would prioritize. And again, but the big one, of course, is avoiding any exercises that cause pain and discomfort. And another one we should mention there as well, just getting adequate rest and recovery, because this is sometimes neglected with training, especially as you get older. Because when it comes to recovering from your workouts, it's not just the muscles that have to recover, it's the joints, tendons, and ligaments. And a lot of times your muscles may feel fully recovered, but your joints and tendons don't. So in my situation, like I work out 3 days a week, and I find like that's kind of like my upper threshold. If I go beyond 3 days a week, I might be able to do it for a little while, but then it starts to catch up with me, and I get those nagging issues. Like, my shoulders are starting to hurt, my elbows are starting to hurt, my knees are starting to ache, or the hips are starting to bother me. But I find if I stay within that 3 day per week threshold, alternating strength training one day and cardio the next. So when I'm saying 3 days a week, I'm talking about 3 strength training days. So 3 days in the gym lifting weights, and then on the other days, I'm doing some form of cardiovascular exercise, usually cycling, but could be other forms of cardio as well. And I find if I'm doing that, I can stay ahead of the curve when it comes to getting the aches and pains in the joints, tendons, and ligaments. If I start pushing it and I start going 4 days a week, 5 days a week, with the strength training, very often, I've noticed this in my own situation, after a few weeks of that, the joint pain starts to creep in. But if I scale it back to 3 days a week, that's my threshold. That's where I can train and recover and stay ahead of the aches and pains curve, if you will. So it's something you might want to pay attention to. Like, maybe you just need to give yourself some extra recovery time for the joints, tendons, and ligaments. Like maybe the muscles feel fine, and you're like, I don't feel soreness in the muscles themselves, but you might need an extra day to let the joints recover. And that's something you will notice, especially the older you get, right? Other things you can do as well is just nutritional supplements. Like collagen is a great one for building up joint and tendon and cartilage. I supplement with that on a regular basis. Omega-3 fatty acids is another one, really good for inflammation and for joint health. Those are two big ones. If you're looking for joint supplements, collagen and omega-3s, I mean, there's numerous benefits besides that, but those are two big ones for sure. What else we got there? Let's move on. Jason saying, is it okay to use beta-alanine to reduce fatigue during a high volume session? Yes, you can use beta-alanine. I use it regularly. That's part of my regular supplement routine. I like it because it does help to improve your stamina and your energy, and reduce fatigue. So yeah, I use it as a regular, like that's when I'm taking my vitamins in the morning, right? I usually have my breakfast, take my vitamins, and I also take my creatine, and to go along with it, I also take beta-alanine as well. So yeah, that's something you can have on a regular basis. Right? There's a lot of benefits to it. What else we got there? We're just past the hour mark. We're at an hour and 6 minutes, so I'm going to get ready and clue this up shortly. See what else. We got John joining in and say, what's up, Lee? I'm a little late. Going to replay it. Good stuff. We're coming to the end of the chat, John, but yeah, the replay will be posted up as soon as this video chat is over. The replay will be posted up instantaneously, so you can go back and catch up. Jason is saying, what are your thoughts on all the smart gyms coming out? Have you tried any? Smart gyms. I'm thinking you might be referring to these gym machines that automatically adjust the resistance for you. They're wall mounted setups with got like cable pulleys that are, I don't fully understand it. I've never used one myself. I'm old school. Like I go to the gym which has weight stacks and plates and things like that. Not a smart gym. I use the stupid gym and it works fine. Right? But I know what you're referring to. Actually, one of my coaching students has one of these gyms. I can't remember the exact brand of it, but he explained it during our coaching calls. And, actually, we were on a live Zoom call and he demonstrated it for me. So it's basically like this big computer screen with two arm attachments coming out of it, and with that you can adjust, and they have cable pulleys, and of course the resistance is adjusted through AI, however the hell that works. Again, based on your recovery and your ability, like it'll adjust the tension and all that. Again, I've never tried it, but the way I look at it is there's obviously potential there, but the big thing is something is better than nothing. All right. So if that's what you have access to and you're going to use it and use it consistently, then hey, by all means, you can make it work. Now, I'm still in the old school. Like I like lifting weights. I like lifting machines and cables and the old school stuff. And that works and it still works. It would work for decades and it's still going to work in the future. But hey, there's potential for advancements when it comes to all these different smart gyms. So my opinions may change when I actually put one to use, but for now, the theories make sense. But again, I haven't actually used it. And I will state this, for what you're getting, it's not cheap. Like a lot of these gyms cost a lot of money. And for what it is you actually get, do you have the value? Like, is it the best bang for your buck? Because you could probably get yourself a power rack with some plate loaded cable pulleys and barbells and a bench and all that. So have yourself a proper, free weight setup with cable pulley resistance. And it might come out to less than the price of some of these quote unquote smart gyms. So, you got to look at the pros and cons there as well. But it's certainly an avenue that I'm sure we'll see more of in the future, because all this AI technology is kind of taken over. So I'm sure we'll see that even taking over in the fitness space as well. All right, let's see what else we got there. We have Jay Isaacs joining in. Says I'm 27 now. Was 19 when I joined your site. Awesome. I appreciate it. I mean, we've been around for a while. Yeah. I started doing this. I started my very first website back in 1997. That's when I mean, there was no, to put that in perspective, there was no Google. There was no YouTube. There was no social media. There was virtually nothing. Like, I remember the first time I logged onto the internet back in 1997, and I typed in bodybuilding into Yahoo, because that was the big search engine at the time, right? I typed in bodybuilding and nothing came up. The internet was empty. Like, all that came up, there was a couple like terms and definitions saying, well, bodybuilding is lifting weights to build your muscles, or some jibber jabber like that. But there was no bodybuilding.com. There was no forums or websites or articles or videos or training and nutrition programs. It's not like it is today, where you go into a Google or a search engine and type in bodybuilding and you get like a billion search results. When I typed it in, there was nothing, like, literally. And so it's amazing to see how far we've came, in a relatively short period of time. Like, 1997 is not that long ago, but man, it certainly is. It certainly feels that long when you look at internet time. Jason saying he's recommending the TheraBand Flex Bar for Lee Dunnigan. Okay, I've never tried that myself, and I don't know if Lee has either, but certainly something to look into. Appreciate the recommendation. What else we got there? All right, having a conversation back and forth. That's good. All right, one more question. We'll clue it up here. Jim saying, I have a full home gym at home. However, I'm having some shoulder issues. Is it cool to work legs and abs and cardio until shoulders get better? Or what else can you recommend for upper body? To work around your shoulder issues, you can do some rehab exercises with body weight and resistance bands. And if you were to go to a physiotherapist, chances are that's probably what they would recommend. They'd probably give you a series of different resistance band exercises to help strengthen the shoulders, and do so under light resistance. Like, movement is medicine. Simply ignoring that, like, okay, the shoulders hurt, I'm not going to do anything for shoulders, that's not the fastest way to rehab an injury. Light movement and proactive movement, where you're actually strengthening the weak links, is the fastest way to rehab an injury versus simply doing nothing at all. So that's what I would recommend. I mean, you're working out from home. It's easy to add some resistance bands. Like, you can go to any sporting goods store and get some resistance bands. You can go in on Amazon and do a search and order some resistance bands. Like, they're readily available and they're relatively inexpensive. So for anybody who's training at a home gym, I would recommend resistance bands as part of your home gym setup, because they're a very versatile tool and they're very inexpensive. But they would be awesome in this situation, help rehab your shoulders. And I actually have a sample resistance band workout that I designed for one of my coaching students. A second, I'm going to post the link there in our chat window, and then we'll get ready to clue it up. And only shoulder workout. Again, if you go to YouTube, actually, there's a couple there I want to share with you. There's a rotator cuff. Stupid old ads on YouTube. All right. I'm just going to post this for Jim. So it's a rotator cuff warm-up / rehab. I'm going to put in there, because these exercises are good for shoulder injury rehab as well. And a lot of times if people have shoulder issues, the rotator cuff is usually that whole movement pattern is usually a root cause or a problem. So strengthening that will definitely help. And just trying to find that specific video now that I'm referring to. It's let's see. All right, here it is. It's a shoulder workout using resistance bands that I was referring to. And I'm going to post a link to that there as well, so you can check out 2 of those videos. And shoulder workouts. So you can check those 2 videos out, and I think that'll help to get you on the right track towards rehab. And if needed, it wouldn't be a bad idea to check with a physiotherapist. Like actually, one of my coaching students, Bruce, who's watching this video chat now, because he mentioned it earlier that he was tuning in. He just went and got some physio for his shoulders because it was something that was nagging him for a while. He has some shoulder issues, and that's exactly what the physiotherapist recommended. They gave him a series of resistance band exercises to help strengthen the shoulder. So he's not doing any direct like weight training exercises and putting a lot of stress, but he is doing the active recovery rehab exercises. And that's what you want to focus on when you do have an injury. So, trying to throw up heavy dumbbells and military presses and all that. No, don't put more stress on an injured shoulder, but you can do rehab work with light resistance bands. Right. So it's helped to strengthen those weak links, and that just the movement and the blood flow and the circulation and all that stuff will help to aid with the recovery process versus doing nothing. All right. So guys, we're going to get ready to clue it up. I'm going to close this down. There we go. All right, so thank you again for tuning in. We had some great questions, and I always enjoy doing these video chats and having an opportunity to touch base with you at the end of the week. So for those of you who didn't catch up, the replay is going to be posted afterwards. So as soon as this is posted, you'll be able to go back and check out the replay. And if you want to check out any of the other past video chat replays that we've done, just head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel and in the Lives tab. So you go there, there's a whole bunch of tabs at the top of the screen there. There's one for live videos, and there's a whole replay of all of our past live video Q&A. So if there's anything you want to go check out, feel free to do so. And if you would need some help or you got any questions or anything that wasn't discussed here, feel free to reach out. If you need to get in touch with me, you can through email or through Facebook Messenger. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you, answer any questions that you may have, whether it's regarding training, nutrition, or whatnot. All right, guys, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next Friday. Same time, same place. Take care. Over and out.